Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, new taxes by the Seattle mayor and a socialist are going to scare away more businesses and make your life more unaffordable. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Well, New York has been trying for years to destroy itself, or I should say, New York Democrat voters have been trying to destroy their state, destroy their city, and they may be on the verge of doing it. Shall we go back in time a few years? Let's just go back in time to 2019 and 2020 during COVID. Do you remember who the mayor of New York City was? Bill de Blasio. You remember that he claimed he was a Democrat, but he was actually a socialist. His wife was a raging lunatic. And he was also a racist. He was into DEI. He was into all these socialist policies. He was into defunding the police. He was into all of that. And people hated him. Hated him. That then when he said he wanted to run for higher office, everybody said, that guy? Are you kidding? He was so terrible that they elected a guy like Eric Adams, who's also terrible, but not as terrible. They elected him as an alternate because they said, nah, this is too much for us. This is crazy. No more of that. Well, last night was the Democratic primary for the mayor's race for New York. And you had a choice between Andrew Cuomo. Yeah, because New Yorkers love him so much. Yes, I know. We love everybody who kills our parents and grandparents, right? We love all the sexual harasser types. We love all the people who discriminate against anybody who doesn't follow their COVID laws. Everybody loves Andrew Cuomo, right? And Zoran Mamdani. Zoran Mamdani wants to abolish the NYPD, abolish prisons, abolish medical bills, abolish private health insurance, ban all guns, legalize sex work, have heroin injection sites, end cash bail, decriminalize drug possession, end sentencing enhancements, and end all cooperation with ICE. Sounds like New York is going to be a lot more fun. Sounds like Times Square is going to be back to the 1970s. Just like that. And this is what New Yorkers are voting for? Are you kidding me? Now, those of you who say, Ari, it's the Democrats. They're crazy. No, my friends, there's something you have to understand about New York for a second. There's a lot of registered Democrats who aren't Democrats. And I'm sure that the Republicans were messing around in that race, Operation Chaos style. But here's the interesting thing about this race. The exit data is fascinating. It wasn't the minorities who were voting for the Muslim, anti-Semitic, communist. It was all the liberal elite white people. All the ones who live on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, all the working class people don't want the communist. It's all the white college-educated elitists who want the socialist. Well, I guess the takeover of our universities is finally complete. You guys want to globalize the Intifada? Congratulations. You just voted to do it. Let's talk about this guy for a second. Canary Mission, which keeps track of all these radical terrorist-supporting anti-Semites, put this little video together on Zoran Mamdani.
In 2017, Zoran Mamdani released a rap track that praised 5 convicted Hamas funders known as the Holy Land Five. Now he wants to run New York. Mamdani says, look him up. So we did. These 5 men were convicted of funneling over $12 million to Hamas, a U.S. designated terrorist organization responsible for the murder, rape, and kidnapping of civilians, including Americans. Mamdani sent his love to convicted Hamas funders. Let that sink in.
That's who this guy is. He made a rap song talking about the Holy Land Five, the largest terror trial in U.S. history, which we have mentioned ad nauseum on this show. Because it's insane to me that the same city that had 9/11 happen almost a quarter century ago is the city that is on the verge of electing a terrorist supporter, a guy who says he's in love with people who funnel money to Hamas, as mayor of the city. It's absolutely bonkers crazy that this is who they are on the verge of electing. And you say, but Ari, wait a minute. It's just the Democrat one. You got a chance with the Republican, right? Nope. Curtis Sliwa, the guy from the Visiting Angels, Charlie's Angels, I forget which Angels he's from, but he's got his red band beanie on. Yeah, he lost last time to Eric Adams. And only more and more people who are conservative, who are moderate, who are Republican have moved out of New York to Florida. You think he's going to win this time? No. The only chance you have is that Eric Adams actually gets elected. But unfortunately, here's what's going to happen. You've got Mamdani, who's now the Democrat. You've got Eric Adams, who's running as an independent. You've got Sliwa, who's running as a Republican. And another independent might get in the race. After losing the primary badly, they have ranked choice voting. That's worse than our mail-in balloting system because they keep counting. It can take a week to get the results. But Mamdani won so decisively that Cuomo conceded last night. Now he thinks he has a chance with the Republicans because this guy wants back into politics so bad. And he knows Sliwa doesn't have a chance, and he knows people don't like Eric Adams. He may run as an independent. Now, if he runs as an independent, let's go through what happens. Sliwa will take the votes he takes. Eric Adams will take the votes he takes. Cuomo will take whatever votes he takes, and they will split the normal vote 3 ways. And who's your new mayor? Mamdani. That's it. Look, you guys got to unite on the right behind Sliwa, Eric Adams, or Cuomo. And nobody likes Cuomo. So it's Adams or Sliwa. Well, Sliwa lost before. I don't care how many times he's on Fox News. Fox News don't get you votes in New York City. So get rid of the bandana, dude, or whatever it is, the beanie on your head. It's not helping matters that you're wearing this army-looking beret in New York to try to appeal to Democrats. Not helping. What, everybody's going to say Eric Adams is their best shot? This is what you get when everybody holds their nose and votes. This is what you get when there's no real Republican Party. This is what you get when all the people who are normal move to Florida. You know what's going to happen here? What's going to happen is a whole bunch of people are going to say, we're out of here. We are gone. We are taking our businesses out of here. This is the final straw. They're going to go to Florida. New York will probably lose another congressional seat. And Florida or Texas or some other place will probably pick it up. But property values are going up. Home prices are going up in Florida. So people may not be able to afford to move there, and they may look somewhere else. The problem here is this is the new direction of the Democrat Party. We've been talking since the election of Donald Trump in 2024. What direction is the Democrat Party going to take? Are they going to moderate and admit they were wrong on everything and Donald Trump's right on a few things? Or are they going to get more extreme? We discussed at the time that they were going to get more extreme because they are scared of their own base, which they have cultivated as these left-wing lunatics. Well, you guys emboldened these left-wing lunatics, and now you are stuck with it. This guy makes AOC look like a moderate. This guy makes Bernie Sanders look like a moderate, and they're all supporting him. And you want to know how you know that the Democrats are afraid of their own party, of their own base, of guys like this? A lot of them were very, very silent during this whole process. Normally come out and you back somebody. They were silent. Now today, they're all, oh, Zoran Mamdani, we love the anti-Semite, especially Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is so desperate to stay in power that he is praising a guy who on October 8th, 2023, October 8th, criticized Netanyahu declaring war on Hamas, and was supporting Hamas for carrying out the October 7th terror attacks. The tweet is still up. I'm looking at it right now. And Chuck Schumer was supporting this guy? Are you kidding me? Now, President Trump summed this up really, really great. He had a couple of Truth Social posts. He wrote, "It's finally happened. The Democrats have crossed the line. Zoran Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Democratic primary, is on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous. He looks terrible. His voice is grating. He's not very smart. He's got AOC +3. Dummies all backing him, and even our great Palestinian senator, crying Chuck Schumer, is groveling over him. Yes, this is a big moment in the history of our country." He then says, "I have an idea for the Democrats to bring them back into play after years of being left out in the cold, including suffering one of the greatest losses in history, the 2024 presidential election. The Democrats should nominate low IQ candidate Jasmine Crockett for president, and AOC +3 should be, respectively, vice president, and 3 high-level members of the cabinet add together with our future communist mayor of New York City, Zoran Mamdani, and our country is really screwed." Now, as funny as that is, he's not wrong. That's exactly what the Democrats are going to do. This is the David Hogg model. This is why the Democrat Party ousted him, because they want more radical candidates, and they think that's the way to win. They have the colleges. They're indoctrinating the youth to vote for these lunatics, so they're not far off. This is the direction that the Democrat Party is going in. In fact, it's even freaking out regular Democrats. Hakeem Jeffries was on Morning Joe today. Listen to this interaction.
Say that he is far too extreme on economic issues and even issues involving Israel. I'm curious what your thoughts are on him ideologically. Is that does he have an ideology that you would want your candidates in 2026 to have?
Well, from the standpoint of House Democrats and what our focus has been, clearly we have an affordability crisis in the United States of America, and our focus will continue to be on driving down the high cost of living in this country. Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. Costs haven't gone down, they're going up.
Oh, stop. Do you see what he did? He pivoted away. He pivoted away. Hakeem Jeffries, who's a radical lefty, realizes that this guy's an even more radical lefty, and if he doesn't say the right thing, they're going to come for his job. So what does he do? Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. Now, don't believe me about what Zoran Mamdani wants. Listen to what he said last night during his victory speech.
If socialism is our theory and DSA is our practice, then a committee is where the two meet. Or as they say on Twitter, it is praxis. So I share all of this with you because we understand that winning an election is not an end. It is a means to an end. And as we contest for these offices across the country, I urge each and every chapter to begin the discussions internally about setting up such a committee, about ensuring that you know what exactly it is you're asking people to sign up for, and that you have a theory of what their role will be in those legislative chambers. Now, as the co-chair of New York City DSA, Jeremy Cohen, often reminds us, in the words of Amilcar Cabral, who wrote this in 1965, tell no lies, mask no difficulties, claim no easy victories. I am not one to say that this model has been 100% successful and has been easy in New York State. Rather, we are still on the journey of accomplishing the goals of that model. There are outstanding questions that we must reckon with, questions that I do not pretend to know the answers to. Questions around how to ensure the continued engagement between rank-and-file members of the organization and electeds of that organization. Questions like, how should we professionalize our organization as we deal with an increase in membership and increased number of electeds? How can we ensure that our model is sustainable as it still continues to demand free time and free labor from so many of our DSA members? And how do we reckon with the fact that it is insufficient to simply elect those with a different set of politics, while we must also elect as many people as possible in this moment when fascism is on the rise in this country?
So do you realize what he's doing? DSA is Democratic Socialists of America. He is laying out the model of how to get more socialists elected, how to overpower the Democrat Party with socialists. I know what a lot of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, Ari, it's already taken over by the socialists. Nancy Pelosi, not a socialist. She may pretend to be from time to time. Chuck Schumer, not a socialist. May pretend to be. They're doing whatever they can. They are holding on by their fingernails to this party, but it's getting dragged more and more to the left. Now, a lot of you are going, Ari, let him go. Let him go, because you know what's going to happen? We're going to win more national elections. Not entirely the case. Here is what Ron DeSantis said, and it was kind of funny, but it's actually not great news.
If this socialist mayor candidate wins in New York City, you're going to see real estate values skyrocket even more in Palm Beach, because people are going to get out of that city. As bad as de Blasio was, this guy is like going to be way, way worse. He doesn't think that you should have law enforcement in dangerous parts of the city, that you should send in social workers. See how that works out for you. It ain't going to work out well. So, they've made a lot of really dumb decisions, and we've benefited from it.
So if everybody keeps moving to the red states, the red states get redder, but they don't get you more electoral college votes. It may get you a couple more, but not everybody's going to leave New York, and not everybody's going to leave California. And you're still going to have these massive blue states where now you have no shot of victory at all. Lee Zeldin, current director of the EPA, ran for governor against Kathy Hochul in New York, lost by 400,000 votes. You know how many people moved to Florida from New York during COVID? A little over 400,000. That's an election right there. Am I telling you to stay behind for the cause? No, I would never do that. You got to do what's in your family's best interests. I don't tell people here not to move. But you do realize what's happening. And I said this at the time of the election. Blue states, I love how everybody was saying, oh, they're moving more red, they're moving more red. Not really. They moved a little bit more conservative because things had gone so crazy under Joe Biden. Blue states are going to get bluer. Red states are going to get redder. And that divide in the country is going to get worse. And as it gets worse, you have two different countries. You've got all these socialists who want what they want, and you've got all of us who want what we want. And then people start talking about civil war, national divorce, all that kind of stuff. We have a different problem here, though. Our youth are voting for these guys because they're being brainwashed by the colleges. They're being brainwashed by the internet. They're being brainwashed by their apps. They're being brainwashed by their parents. They're being brainwashed to hate this country, support Hamas, and that socialism can work, and that communism can work. So while it all seems hunky-dory right now, that we're doing well with Gen X and all these other generations, we got a problem with the youth who's coming up. Because this generation is brainwashed to hate America, brainwashed to support terror, brainwashed to like communism. That's the problem on the horizon. And the Democrat Party is going to lean into this because Nancy Pelosi, she's done. Chuck Schumer, he's almost done. He's got just a few years left. Look at the Democrat Party. They're all like Joe Biden. They're the walking dead. And who's the new rock stars? Zoran Mamdani, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley. And they're advocating for more of them. Some people are saying this is great. Let New York destroy itself. My friends. Because this is what's going to destroy the country. What's going to destroy the country is the Democrat Party veering so wildly to the left that they keep pushing back for the sake of pushing back and to impose their radical agenda. And what's going to happen now is they're going to get more radical and more radical and more radical. Look at what's happening here in Washington. We'll discuss later in the show. Bob Ferguson has this massive budget problem, and rather than dealing with the massive budget problem, you know why he brought together his whole cabinet yesterday? Everybody who's head of a state agency? To take on Donald Trump. This is their election plan. They are telling you what they are doing. Veer more and more and more and more to the left. And the problem is they're going to win in a lot of these places. Problem is people are going to get more radicalized. And that's very, very scary that 25 years after the 9/11 terror attacks, New York City is now on the verge of electing a guy mayor who agrees with those attacks, who supports the people who carried out those attacks. That's horrifying how far our country and New York have drifted. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. Speaking of socialism, my friends, one of our socialist city council members has a new idea for a new tax with our mayor, and it's going to affect you. We'll tell you what it is when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell is desperate to win re-election. He's so desperate, in fact, that he's not doing what politicians usually do and make the city look nice before an election because he's worried about ticking off the left with sweeping the homeless encampments. So he's just leaving them where they are, even though it's peak cruise season. He's doing little things that make it look like he's actually doing something. For example, this headline. Ready for this? From Como News, Seattle may, notice that word, Seattle may start suing graffiti taggers for cleanup costs. So if you put something like that out there, they might start doing that. Then you think to yourself, oh, cool, this is coming down the... Nope. Also, I got a question for you. How much money do you think the graffiti artists have? No, seriously. If they had real jobs, they'd be at the real jobs, not on the sides of freeways vandalizing them. You think these guys are just rolling in the dough and they do this for fun? Seattle City Attorney Ann Davidson presented legislation to the city's council public safety committee on Tuesday that would authorize her office to use civil litigation against illegal taggers in addition to criminal prosecution. Well, that's nice as a deterrent. How much money are you guys going to spend on the legal end of this, which could have been spent on, I don't know, more police officers, more enforcement type stuff, keeping people behind bars? Look, I think they should pay restitution. I think they should be forced to get rid of what they did. I think they should spend time in jail. But this is one of those things that not much is really going to come of this. It's not. So, what is Bruce Harrell doing to try and cement himself with the left? According to Como News, Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell and council member Alexis Mercedes Rink. First problem right there. She's a socialist. So if she's supporting something, odds are it's bad for the city. They announced a proposal Wednesday that would raise business taxes. Now, they claim it's going to simultaneously reduce them for hundreds of others, and they are wrong. Harrell and Rink said the proposal would raise an additional $90 million in revenue needed to offset a $251 million budget deficit. It's actually closer to $300. And potential cuts from the federal government, but it's already getting significant pushback from Seattle's business community. The proposal still needs Seattle City Council and voter approval, which it'll get because people are dumb. The proposal will raise the B&O tax threshold exemption from $100,000 to $2 million in gross revenue and create a new B&O deduction up to $2 million. Do you know that most small businesses will now be in that world, which means now you're going to be in trouble? That's it. You're now going to be in trouble. You are not going to get the help you need. The mayor's office suggests the proposal will lower taxes for approximately 90% of businesses. You know, they say that, but here's the problem. If the big businesses that make more money leave town, the smaller businesses are reliant on those businesses for customers. For example, when Amazon left town, grocery stores close, barber shops close, mechanics close, bookstores close. Anything that's around that those people are shopping at when they're working in South Lake Union, bye-bye, gone, because they don't have customers anymore. So when these businesses pick up and go, the small businesses aren't going to have customers anymore. Did you guys not learn your lesson when you went after big business previously with the payroll tax that they will just get up and leave? Harrell said Seattle small business create jobs and build communities, and they need our help. The balanced approach delivers tangible relief for small and medium-sized businesses and puts Seattle in the best position to prepare for Trump's economic chaos and continued ideological bluster, while we further provide essential services and maintain critical housing investments for our residents. Yeah, I'm sure that guy... What did that guy do just a little while ago? Where is he? Right here. I saw him. Hang on. Here he is. Here we go. Report of one male stabbed in the back of the neck. He appears to be alert and conscious. By the way, it's a stabbing in a housing first apartment complex. Yes. We definitely need to be paying for more of that. Why don't we investigate Homeless Inc.? Why don't we do an audit of Homeless Inc.? Rink is calling the proposal the Seattle Shield Initiative and said voters would have a choice in November to give small and medium mom and pop shops the ability to stay open while ensuring the large corporations contribute more to safeguard our city and residents from the Trump administration. You know what, guys? I'm more concerned about being safeguarded from the illegal immigrants you let around here, from the criminals you release around here. So the B&O tax exemption would be increased from $100,000 to $2 million, exempting approximately 16,500 small and medium-sized businesses from the B&O tax. The city would also create a new B&O deduction, allowing all businesses to pay B&O taxes on gross receipts above $2 million. Yeah, I don't think you guys realize how many small businesses make a lot of money, and it's not actually going to cover as many as you think they do. To offset the reduced B&O tax revenues caused by the exemption deduction, and to address the deficit and Trump's administrative threats, the B&O tax rate will increase. So you're charging the bigger companies, and they're going to say, why bother staying here? We are out of here. You already lost Amazon. Who else do you want to lose? And those small businesses are reliant on the big businesses for the customers. You want an example? Do you remember what the Disney CEO said to Gavin Newsom during COVID? The Disney CEO said, by keeping our amusement park closed, you are putting out of business the people who sell us pretzels and candy and all the other stuff, the Mickey Mouse hats. You are putting all those people out of business with what you're doing. With more companies leaving Seattle because you are penalizing them for being successful, this is exactly what's going to happen. Just watch. Guaranteed. This is your big plan? Well done. Just watch. If you're doing a plan with a socialist, it ain't going to work out. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Leonard in Shoreline. Leonard, what's up, man?
Oh, nothing much. You know, I'm glad you talked about the new mayor out there in New York City. I think you may have gotten my email last night about 9:15 regarding this. And what I think I see happening here, now that Mamdani is now the mayor of New York City, you want to see their police department abolished? You want to see people die as a result of it?
That's exactly what's going to happen because he says he doesn't want to police in communities anymore. We tried the defunding experiment. It was an absolute failure. Leonard, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. John in Auburn says over on the text line, Ari, I have a small business that feeds 50-plus families. If taxes increase for doing business, as well as utterly stupid property taxes being raised, I'm out. Exactly. Guys, you think $1 million sounds like a lot of money. In a small business, a lot of them are making that amount of money, but they have to pay their employees, and they have to pay for supplies, and they have to pay rent, and they have to pay taxes. You are going to be dinging so many businesses by increasing these taxes, and you think you're saving the little guy? No, you're jeopardizing his livelihood because these big companies are going to leave and the small businesses won't have as many customers anymore. Just watch. When we come back, my friends, entertaining audio from the NATO summit. Plus, J.D. Vance does an amazing speech about what it's like working with Donald Trump. We'll have that awesome audio for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So J.D. Vance yesterday has given a speech, and he's talking about what it's like being a member of the Trump administration in Washington, D.C., especially when they go to blue areas, and told this very entertaining story.
Trust me, in Washington, D.C., they have this thing where I think it means we're number one in Washington, D.C., but all the pink-haired people throw up this sign, and I think, that means we're number one, right? I choose to take that as that symbol in Washington. But all kidding aside,
he's holding up his middle finger. He's holding up which is an old joke, but funny. Then he told this story about the recent goings-on with Iran.
and the president looks over at me, puts the foreign leader on mute, and says, "This is not going very well," and he presses the red button. And my eyes get really big, and I'm like, "Mr. President, what just happened?" And he looks at me and he goes, "Nuclear." Nuclear. And 2 minutes later, a guy walks in with a Diet Coke, and he looks back at me and he says, "It wasn't nuclear, it's just the Diet Coke button." And that's... So that's the kind of guy, and my fellow Republicans, that we have as the President of the United States.
I love the sense of humor. I really do. But you know what? The lamestream media has no sense of humor whatsoever. And in fact, it doesn't seem to you like they want to make it seem like the U.S. didn't blow up all the nuclear facilities. Okay, all this back and forth over intelligence, I'm going to tell you guys what the problem is. You ready for this? Here we go. It's hard to inspect places that are piles of rubble in a terrorist regime country you can't necessarily get into. Can we be real about this for a second? So everybody can claim whatever they want. We're not sure. Let's put it that way. Because they're giant piles of rubble 300 meters underground. Really hard to get to them. Now, mind you, who are we relying on for a lot of this intelligence? Israel. That's who we're relying on because Mossad is in country. And they tell us things. And there's information sharing. And there's intelligence sharing. And that's how these things happen. But you would think the lamestream media doesn't want America to be successful. They will do anything they can to just deny Trump this very clear, very obvious win. I'm still confused, though. CNN seems committed to prove that the nuclear weapons are ready to go. The nuclear vessels are ready to go. They seem determined to prove this. But wait a minute. Last week before the bombing, you guys were saying, oh, they're nowhere near getting a nuclear weapon. Why are you doing this? Guys, make up your mind. Pick a lane. Which one you're going in. So, when CNN wanted to ask a question today of the president, he had a very entertaining response.
Oh, fake news, CNN? Oh, yeah, here we go. Wait till you hear this question. You should really say how great our soldiers and our warriors are.
I think everyone appreciates our soldiers and our warriors. I do have two questions for you, Mr. President.
I'm not sure you do. You guys seem determined to prove that the strikes didn't do anything. Okay, let's hear what the Atomic Energy Commission had to say.
A letter just came in, and a statement came in from the Atomic Energy Commission of Israel. And I just wondered, this is an official letter, and they're very serious people, as you know. The devastating U.S. strike on Fordo destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility totally inoperable. It was devastated. We assess that the American strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities have set back Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons for many years to come. This achievement can continue indefinitely if Iran does not get access to nuclear material, which it won't. It's so sad that whole thing had to go. But I just want to thank our pilots. You know, they were maligned and treated very bad, demeaned by fake news CNN, which is back there, believe it or not, wasting time, nobody's watching them. So they're just wasting a lot of time, wasting my time.
Here's something else, guys. Who was striking all those facilities except for Fordo? Who hit all those facilities before the U.S. did? Do you know? Oh, right. What kicked off this whole thing? It was Israel going in to take out the head of the snake after the October 7th attacks and the attacks by the proxies. They go in to take out Iran's nuclear capabilities. They're not questioning Israel. They're just questioning Trump because they want to get Trump so bad, which is insane, by the way. Oh, and let's not forget this. After America dropped all those bombs on Fordo and Natanz and these other places, do you know who went in again afterwards? Israel goes in again afterwards and bombs all those places again. Now, if you want to accept my narrative of what we're talking about, which I believe I'm right, you also have to look at the same agencies and the other reports that they had. And the same agencies are saying that 700 pounds of uranium may have been moved out before the strikes. So CNN, if you want to get President Trump and you want to get Israel, you know what you should be saying? Where's the 700 pounds of uranium? And that's a legitimate question. What are you doing to get the 700 pounds of uranium? That's a legitimate question. But instead, they're so hung up on this thing. Donald Trump does not have to show them thing after thing after thing after thing, because now it's just they want to get him. They want to poke him. They want to poke him. Hey, did Joe Biden stop Iran from becoming a nuclear power? Did Barack Obama stop Iran from becoming a nuclear power? No. They paid for all the stuff we just blew up. I didn't hear you guys asking them all this about the Iran deal. You guys said, oh, they saved us from destruction. Meanwhile, you were paying them, and they were financing terror with the money from U.S. taxpayers, and they were still developing nuclear weapons. Whose side is the media on? I just gave you a route if you want to go after Trump. I just gave you a route. Ask where the uranium went. Ask how they know where it went. Ask if it's under the rubble or ask if it got shipped out. How can you be sure? You can go that way with it. Those are legit questions. Instead, you're hung up on the craziest thing because you don't want the guy to have any victory at all. You're so desperate to win. You're trying to prove that America lost and demeaning our soldiers in the meantime. When we come back, people are really ticked off about a rendition of the American national anthem. And I'm not really sure why. You're going to help me be the judge when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. most of you probably know who Kristen Chenoweth is. Kristen Chenoweth, big Broadway star, been in a lot of musicals, been in a lot of TV shows, been in a lot of movies. She originated the role of Glenda, the Good Witch in Wicked. Very talented singer, very talented performer. If you don't know her from that, maybe you know her from The West Wing, where she doesn't really sing at all. She's just one of the press secretary people in some of the later seasons. Very talented. She sang the national anthem at Game 7 of the NBA Finals this weekend on Sunday night. And people are going bonkers crazy criticizing her for her rendition. Now, I went and I listened to the thing, and I'm going to play it for you right now. And I want to know what you think, because I think this is a huge overreaction. I really do. And I don't know why everybody's freaking out it. Phone line is 206-421-5757. You can text us at 206-421-5757. When you hear what you think everybody is mad about, give us a call or a text and tell us what you think.
Now, the performance of tonight's national anthem. Please welcome Emmy and Tony Award-winning actress and singer and Oklahoma native, Kristen Chenoweth.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free? And the home of the brave.
Now, I thought to myself, is it that there's a little opera in there and she's not usually doing? Is it there's a little bit of country mixed with a little bit of opera? Or is it that final note where she belted it out and stretched it out? Because I know plenty of people who do that. Is that offensive to you? Is somebody triggered by that? You would have thought the woman was kneeling for the... Oh, wait, I'm confused. I see a lot of the same people who are criticizing her for this are the same people who got no problem with that whatsoever. Do you have a problem with the way she just sang the national anthem? I thought it was different. I thought she made it her own. Do I like all her choices? No, but she's won Emmys and Tonys and all this other stuff, and I don't get to have an opinion in that matter. But I thought it was beautiful. So, do you agree with me or do you agree with the critics? Give us a call or a text, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Meanwhile, out in D.C., so the Democrats keep bringing these radical Democrats before Congress to testify about racial stuff, trying to show how evil we all are. Representative Brandon Gill has been doing just a great job exposing these lunatics. Like, for example, this one here who thinks we should be racially discriminating against people.
Do you believe that America should be a colorblind society? For instance, should people be treated differently based on their race? It's just a yes or no question.
It's not a yes or no question.
It's a yes or no question.
It is a, as I said in the beginning of my testimony, America
yes or
has
no
not done
fine.
right by indigenous peoples, by black people, by Asian American and Pacific Islander people.
People be treated differently based on their race? Yes or no?
People should receive the services and the support and the remedies that are
your answer
owed to
is
them.
that they should be treated differently based on their race.
They should receive the remedies that are owed to them because of the systemic racism and injustice.
Do you believe that race should be considered in employer hiring practices?
I do not believe that white people are the only qualified people for jobs.
I didn't say that. Nobody said that. I asked you if race should be considered in employer hiring practices. And you're not going to intimidate me by slandering me as a racist.
You're also, I did not call you a racist.
No,
you're not going to intimidate me by insisting that I called you a racist.
Straightforward question. It's a yes or no question. Should race be considered in employer hiring practices? Yes or no?
I believe that diversity ought to be considered as companies and other organizations attempt to reflect their customers,
I'll take that as a yes.
Our country.
I'll take that as a yes. Which race do you think should be preferred?
I do not think that a single race should be preferred.
You just said that you believe that race should be considered in employer hiring practices.
I don't know. There's going to be a transcript of this hearing. I didn't say that in that way.
Okay. Why don't you explain what you believe?
What I said and what I believe is that the demographic composition of workplaces, which our nation's military,
that is not what he said, by the way. He said people should get what they're owed. What does that mean exactly? He was talking about systemic racism. He mentioned that a couple of times. What they're owed. So you believe that certain races should get preferential treatment. You believe certain people should not get preferential treatment and should be treated badly. It's exposing how racist DEI garbage is, which is separating people by the color of the skin, which is separating people by ethnicity, which is separating people by race. That's what's exposed in that 2-minute sound clip. This is what the left believes. What do you owe me? Not we're competing on the same level playing field. This is what's owed to me. When we come back, my friends, you get a chance to get a little piece of that golden age of America during our Take the Trip or Keep the Cash. We're giving away fantabulous prizes, including your chance to go on an amazing vacation or keep $3,000 in cash. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, a family sues Seattle Public Schools after a mob shows up to target their daughter on campus and the school does nothing about it. But before we get to any of that, my friends, you work hard. You need a getaway, or perhaps some financial relief. We've got you covered with KVI's Take the Trip or Keep the Cash.
I can proudly proclaim that the golden age of America is upon us.
Indeed it is, my friends. This week, you can get away to Key West, Florida, which is sort of near Mar-a-Lago, with dinner in Margaritaville, sunsets at Mallory Square, and no car needed. Or have a chance at $3,000 cash. Now, all you have to do is text the keyword I give you to the phone number I give you. Just the keyword. Not your name, not your phone number, not your address, not God bless you, Ari, you're awesome, which I felt so bad for the person who did that yesterday. Just the keyword. Just the keyword. And only once. You have until 5 o'clock to do it. And we'll get you in the daily drawing to get $50 Daniel Broilers gift card, and you can win a trip or take the cash with KVI. All you have to do is text the keyword TAN. That's T-A-N, as in I'll tan your hide. Oh, you mean the color tan. That's what we're going for. Text the keyword TAN to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. You have from now until 5 p.m. to enter the keyword TAN at 206-421-5757. Remember, do not call us. You can only text the keyword TAN. Your next chance at winning comes tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. during the morning ride with Phil and Zach. Make sure you check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout or delivery order, and so much more. You know, I see wearing a lot of tan, by the way, with a lot of tan walls behind him, is Bob Ferguson. Bob Ferguson put up this social media post. This was yesterday. He said, "Today, I invited all 9 statewide elected officials to come together to discuss how best to protect the people and values of our state from the destructive and chaotic actions of the Trump administration." Hang on. Yesterday, 13 minutes before it was revealed that we have a budget gap of $780 million despite him and his buddies passing and signing the largest tax increase in state history, and then not doing anything about their out-of-control spending. What are they spending time on? The Trump administration? Hey, guys, just a thought here. Maybe if you comply with federal law, aren't you the ones who are always saying nobody's above the law? If you comply with federal law, you won't lose federal funding. How about that? Here's something else. You guys are all expanding your offices. Bob Ferguson expanded his office. Nick Brown expanded his office. You guys are expanding all government agencies. Why? So you can sue the federal government? He said in today's meeting, we explored strategies for how to best protect services for Washington communities reliant on federal funding without giving in to the Trump administration's attacks. How about you guys figure out the funding that you vetoed, Bob Ferguson, for babies that are born addicted to drugs because you won't separate them from their drug addict parents? You didn't protect that funding. We also discussed ways to protect our state budget from rising costs and unmet obligations caused by the federal government's disruption of our economy. Time out. Why are costs rising around here? Why were costs rising the last 4 years? Were you guys having task force about inflation? Because I didn't hear that at all. And we are committed to enhance our coordination of our efforts as we look to the 2026 legislative session. Oh, you mean to tax us even more than you already have? Today's meeting provided a valuable foundation for protecting the rights and safety of all Washingtonians, and we are united in our commitment to fulfill that promise. Are you know? I know something interesting. This may seem petty. Mike, if I'm being petty, you got to call me out for it. On the table, everybody's got a bottle of water in front of them, except for Bob Ferguson. He's got a LaCroix, a LaCroix, a LaCrux, I don't drink that stuff. My kids like it. I don't like it. I don't know. It always seems to me like a hoity-toity kind of drink. Maybe that's just a me thing, but, I see a guy with a Coke, a Diet Coke, a water, a seltzer, even a Snapple. Okay, fine. It's the LaCroix that bothers me. Maybe I'm being petty. But also, did you offer anybody else a LaCroix? Why do they all have water and you're the only one with a LaCroix? Maybe you brought it yourself from home. I don't know. That just kind of stuck out to me. You're the only one with it, Bobby boy. Meanwhile, you guys aren't dealing with the real issues around here. You guys have a massive spending problem, and no amount of our money will ever fix it. You guys are just going to keep spending and spending and spending. Why? So you can prioritize dumb things like the Domestic Violent Extremism Task Force. Now, that sounds good. Let's deal with domestic violent extremists, right? As we've discussed multiple times, though, it's not actually going after Antifa or BLM or the pro-Hamas brigade. None of that. In fact, they don't even want to mention that the pro-Hamas Antifa types caused over $1 million in damage to the University of Washington last month. Don't even want to mention that. We know this thing is solely designed to come after you and me, and I bet you I'm going to be at the top of their list. Just watch. This hotline's going to go active, and we're going to have to start dealing with complaints all the time. Ari Hoffman triggered me by what he said on the radio. Mike, we're going to have so much fun with this hotline when it goes live. It's going to be endless content for us. I wish it didn't exist, but if it does exist, it's going to be endless content. You know what I got to do? I got to look up some laws, Mike. I got to look up the laws of calling the hotline and reporting things and taping the reaction of the person on the other side. I don't think I could do that without telling them they're on the radio, though, right? That's right. I got to actually tell them we're doing that. Oh, it's going to be a lot. We're going to make stars out of people. We're going to make stars. So what's the latest shenanigans? You remember about a month ago, we had our friend, journalist Sulani Madsen on the show talking about how they issued this final report that they found, which was supposed to be a preliminary report, and that all the extremism from the left was missing from their little timeline. Missing all the stuff from Antifa, missing all the stuff from the Autonomous Zone, missing all the stuff from the riots, missing all the stuff from the pro-Hamas brigade. And I was kind of curious why. So at the time, I did a request for comment. Time is ticking. What? It's been like 3 weeks since we had Sulani on, something like that, almost a month. I finally heard back from them today. And they said that they don't consider the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, the deadly Autonomous Zone, worth noting because the 2020 protests, their words, not mine, weren't mass shooting incidents. Mike, weren't there a whole bunch of shootings during the Autonomous Zone? I seem to remember a whole bunch of those things. Okay, let me check my math here for a second. On June 20th, 2020, let's not forget, at this point, this thing had been under siege for about a week after BLM and Antifa activists seized 6 blocks of Seattle, and the police were kicked out by the mayor and by the police chief. So now you had Raz Simone, the warlord of the Autonomous Zone, handing out AR-15s out of the trunk of his car, the Tesla, to anybody who would stand a post, including people who looked like they were teenagers. At 2:19 a.m., at Cal Anderson Park inside the zone, 19-year-old Lorenzo Anderson was killed and a 33-year-old was critically injured when roughly 10 shots were fired in rapid succession. Does that fit the definition of a mass shooting? That's 10 bullets. That sounds like a lot of bullets. June 21st, 2020. Late night at Cal Anderson Park inside the zone, a 17-year-old was shot in the arm and hospitalized. June 23rd, 2020, just before 5 a.m., around 11th Avenue and Denny Way on the zone's edge, a man in his 30s was shot in the calf. Oh, this one's the worst one. June 29th, 2020, at around 2:30 a.m. at Cal Anderson Park in the zone, a 16-year-old was killed and a 14-year-old was critically injured when their Jeep was, quote-unquote, riddled with bullets by the Chaz Chop security, and I'm using air quotes to say security, it just means a bunch of goons standing around with AR-15s, who opened fire on the SUV and unloaded about 30 rounds into the car. But apparently those aren't mass shootings. Those don't count as mass shootings. Mike Falk, Deputy Communications Director for the Washington State Attorney General Nick Brown's office, said there was not a mass shooting, much less several. not according to federal law or any other accepted use of the term. That's why it wasn't on the list of mass shootings. What are you talking about? 30 bullets fired? Oh, I looked up the definition they're using for mass shootings. Would you like to know what it is? According to them, a mass shooting is when there's 3 victims. So none of these had 3 victims. So they don't count as mass shootings. Never mind the fact that the 30 bullets fired from AR-15s in the middle of an urban center and a park by people who are basically vigilantes who decided they were going to control their domain. That doesn't count as a mass shooting. So it doesn't rank on the to-do list of the Domestic Violent Extremism Task Force. You see how they're crafting these things to avoid covering the things and discussing the things they don't want to discuss? So we're just going to leave off Antifa. We're just going to leave off BLM. We're just going to leave off the pro-Hamas people. We're just going to leave all that off the list, even though the Antifa types assaulted a journalist just 2 weeks ago. Cam Higbee was assaulted by these Antifa lunatics outside the federal courthouse. Now, we got news yesterday right at the end of the show, where Katie Daviscourt, our friend from the Post Millennial, identified the guy who beat Cam Higbee so hard that he dented the protective helmet Cam Higbee was wearing. She identified this guy using the tattoos that were in the video, using other information, using intelligence she got. She was able to identify this guy, and yet he still hasn't been arrested. He still hasn't been named as the suspect. Yesterday, we found out that Seattle detectives have identified a suspect in the assault of journalist Cam Higbee, but they did not reveal the identity. They wouldn't tell us who it was. But they did say the case was referred to the King County prosecutors and will be reviewed individually by Senior Deputy Prosecutor's Criminal Division as an assault in the second degree. Important to note, they said, that video and medical records must be sent from the investigating police agency. King County prosecutor said the court won't accept those if a prosecutor were to get them from an online post like the one that identified a member of Antifa. Those have to be sent by police under the penalty of perjury. Well, I assume if Jonathan Cho and Katie Daviscourt and Cam Higbee and everybody else who found this guy can find this guy with a little bit of elbow grease, the police detectives can do the exact same thing. But I ask you a question. It's been, 2 weeks now? 2 weeks, where this guy's identity is out there. It was out there 36 hours after the assault. Everybody knew who this guy was. So the police stood by and didn't do anything, didn't arrest this guy when the assault happened. And now they still haven't arrested the guy? What orders are they getting from high up to not go after this guy? What orders? It is clear as day that this is the guy. There were a lot of people working on this, by the way. I had a guy I thought it was, tried to confirm it. It wasn't him. This is the guy. Why haven't you arrested him? Why won't you name him? What are you afraid of? Why are you slow walking this investigation? It seems to me like they're doing it deliberately because they don't want to admit there's violence from the left. Let's flip this around for a second. If a bunch of Donald Trump supporters assaulted a journalist from The Stranger, how quickly would that be front page news? They'd create an entire task force made up of the FBI, the Seattle Police Department, Washington State Patrol. They'd get everybody together to go in on this, and they've done it before. And yet, with this one, why are they slow walking it? You got an explanation why? You can give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's up, man?
Well, a couple of things. First, let's talk about Bob Ferguson. You know, he's an absolute incompetent, and I can't believe people voted for incompetence over integrity and leadership skills in Dave Reichert. And, you know, I mean, among other things. I mean, as you know, Bob Ferguson does have a Public Disclosure Commission complaint filed by me, and I hope you get a statement from him soon, which I know you'll share. And I will also add, I want to share some news. It isn't exactly breaking news, but Katie Wilson has endorsed Sam Dummy. You know, that socialist guy out of New York?
Wait a second. Hang on. Let's just make sure I got this right. The socialist candidate for Seattle mayor endorsed a socialist? I don't think that's breaking news. I think in other news, water is wet there, Joe.
Yes, exactly. But I just wanted you to know, and I hope, I really feel for Seattle voters because they should have Ari Hoffman as a choice, or they could have, she's no longer a Seattle resident. And the president of Redmond is obviously not a Seattle resident.
No, wait a second. All right, Joe, we're going to have a little fun with this, okay? Guys, I ran for Seattle City Council 5 years ago now almost. Wait, has it been even longer than that? My God, I'm going old and senile. It was in 2019. Holy cow. It was in 2019. Wow, how time flies. I didn't do very well in that race because I was running against a socialist. Now, I'm very happy where I am. This worked out for the best. Maybe not for the residents of Seattle, but at least for me, this worked out for the best. What do you think, guys? Should I run for higher office? Mayor? What do you think would happen if I ran for mayor? I should run for mayor. No. What do you think would happen if I ran for governor? What do you think would happen if I ran for mayor? Didn't John Carlson try that not so long ago? And he tried that when Democrats weren't this crazy, right?
Yeah, he tried that, and he sadly lost in 2000. I don't recall who I voted for. I mean, this was back when Gary Locke was the governor, and he was a pretty sane guy compared to these crazies. And he certainly wasn't incompetent. He was so competent, he worked with Dino Rossi to craft priorities budget. And it's crazy what the Democrats are doing. Now, granted, Andrew Cuomo was an unacceptable choice because of his sexual harassment.
And killing everybody's parents and grandparents. Oh, and demonizing Jews, blaming them for the pandemic. Oh, and being incompetent at his job. It's not just the sexual harassment is like the least of his problems, that guy. Don't get me wrong. Still a big deal. But yeah, that's the guy you put up? Joe, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. By the way, speaking of Bob Ferguson, the U.S. Department of Justice announced on Monday that has filed legal action against the state of Washington, challenging the new law that the department says violates constitutional protections and religious freedoms. At the center of the dispute is Senate Bill 5375, signed into law by Ferguson. The law eliminates the clergy penitent privilege in cases involving suspected child abuse or neglect, effectively requiring clergy members, including Catholic priests, to report confessions related to such offenses to authorities. While Catholic priests who are bound by the sacred seal of confession, complying with the law would result in immediate excommunication from the church. You know what I find interesting about this? Weren't the Democrats the ones who wanted to wait a certain amount of time before teachers had to inform you of what happened to your kid on school property? Weren't they the ones that wanted to do that? They wanted to delay it as long as possible. Now, do you want to say there's an issue in the Catholic Church with this kind of stuff? Sure, but you can't violate the First Amendment to fix it. Look, we had issues in the Jewish community, unfortunately, with some problems like this. But you still can't vote. We don't have the same thing with confessional. It doesn't work the same way. We report stuff right away. But here's the thing, guys. This infringes on the First Amendment. We had Harmeet Dillon on the show, Assistant Attorney General, on the show. And she said Senate Bill 5375 unconstitutionally forces Catholic priests in Washington to choose between their obligations to the Catholic Church and the penitents or face criminal consequences while treating the priest-penitent privilege differently than other well-settled privileges. Exactly right. Now, you may feel differently about this. I'm happy to have the debate. Feel free to give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We had State Senator Noelle Frame on the show. She got very mad when I challenged her on a few things. She got real mad when I challenged her about a bunch of things about this bill because she said she had some past experiences or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's very sad, but that doesn't change the fact that there's First Amendment implications. That doesn't change a whole bunch of this. This is a badly written bill, and it's ripe for a challenge. What do you think? Should this be challenged? Should it be allowed to stand? Or do you say there's other ways of doing it? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206 421-5757. And speaking of those schools that hide what teachers do to kids and what other students do to kids, when we come back, my friends, Seattle Public Schools is now getting sued. Why? Because a mob showed up to target a kid in the classroom and administrators covered it up. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, Seattle Public Schools better plan on being in court in the fall or settling because they're in a lot of trouble. I've heard a lot of insane stories that have happened in the past few years about kids in Seattle Public Schools. This is the craziest one. A Seattle family has filed a lawsuit against Seattle Public Schools, Principal Dr. William Jackson and other administrators at Nathan Hale High School, alleging that their daughter was subjected to months of escalating anti-Semitic harassment that school officials ignored, culminating in what the family calls a hate-driven mob incident that forced the teen into hiding inside a locked classroom. Now, let me back up for a second. I used to be a volunteer at Nathan Hale High School. It's one of the schools where I ran the Jewish club. The school has apparently changed a lot because back then it was a lot of white privilege type kids. Doesn't seem like that's the case, or maybe it is. Doesn't specify who's doing that in here. But here's something else, guys, with regards to all this insanity happening in Seattle Public Schools. King 5 had this story first. I saw it on King 5, and I said, the mob, they had the mob part. I said, but there's got to be more. A mob doesn't happen overnight. A lot of things lead up to the mob. When I got the court documents, I was blown away. Absolutely blown away. Because they paint a disturbing picture of unchecked hostility at the North Seattle school throughout the 2023-2024 academic year. The plaintiffs and their 15-year-old daughter allege that Seattle Public Schools failed to protect their child and instead allowed her to become the repeated target of verbal abuse, threats, cyberbullying, and physical intimidation because she's Jewish. According to the 13-page legal filing, the abuse began shortly after the Hamas terrorist attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. Tensions surged at Nathan Hale, and MKL, a freshman, the only Jewish member of the softball team, and one of the very few openly Jewish students at the school, quickly became a visible target. By the way, that's the craziest thing. So Israel gets attacked, and then everybody says, let's go target the Jews. I still can't believe that happened, but I can at the same time. She reported hearing anti-Semitic slurs in the hallways and classrooms, including Hitler's plan should have worked, and I hate the Jews. The abuse escalated from verbal harassment to physical intimidation. One student allegedly yelled at her with such force that spit landed in her face, telling her she deserved it for being Jewish, and threatened to assault her if she wore Hanukkah-themed clothing to school. Look, that's bad taste. Those of you who've seen my Hanukkah suit, it's poor taste. But you're going to assault a kid for wearing that stuff to school? Imagine if, okay, let me turn this around. Imagine if you said, I don't like you wearing that African dress to school. I'm going to assault you for it. I don't like you wearing that Spanish stuff to school. I'm going to assault you for it. I don't like you wearing that pride gear to school. I'm going to assault you for it. Despite the family reporting this to Principal Jackson, the lawsuit claims the school took no meaningful action. Jackson allegedly acknowledged that the harassment was frequent and severe, but failed to implement safety measures or disciplinary steps. Even requests to preserve hallway security footage from the incident where a kid was spat at were ignored, and the family believes the video was deleted. Over the following months, anti-Semitic symbols and messages allegedly appeared repeatedly throughout the school. Graffiti, combining swastikas with Free Palestine slogans, were seen in bathrooms and on school property. By the way, there's a whole bunch of these things. They're in the lawsuit. I've got the pictures. In one instance, a swastika was drawn on a bench in the girls' home softball dugout where the girl kept her belongings during games. When the victim reported this to an assistant coach, she was told the symbol didn't look like a swastika. There's a picture of it. That's a swastika. It's not even the Hindu version, okay? That is an actual swastika there, no question about it. The head coach reportedly said he would report it, but the complaint states that no action was ever taken by school officials, including the principal. In class, while reading the book Night by Elie Wiesel, if you don't know, it's about the Holocaust, students allegedly laughed at the Holocaust passages, and one even drew a swastika on the student's folder. Very tolerant, the progressive left around here. Another Jewish student reported that a classmate said the bad thing about the book is that Hitler didn't finish the job. Teachers allegedly did not intervene. The complaint states that in the spring, harassment extended to social media. The Nathan Hale Muslim Student Association Instagram account allegedly posted offensive messages targeting the student, and a TikTok video falsely accused her of using a racial slur. Allegations the family says were intended to label her a racist based solely on her Jewish identity. The video went unchallenged by school administrators and remained online, damaging the girl's reputation among peers both at Nathan Hale and neighboring schools. According to the lawsuit, the situation reached a crisis point on May 22nd, 2024. That day, multiple students entered the classroom one by one, attempting to coax the victim into the hallway. Her sixth period teacher, Mrs. Lynch, sensing a setup, locked the classroom door and kept the student inside. A group of about 20 students then gathered outside, banging on the door and shouting threats and anti-Semitic slurs. Look, guys, if that happens to Riley Gaines, she's prepared for it. Is it right that it happens? No. If that happens to me, I'm prepared for it. Is it right that it happens? No. A 14-year-old kid, a 14-year-old girl, having a mob come for her in a public school? She received text messages warning her she would be attacked. She texted her mom, "Mom, I really, really, really need you," and called her father as the mob attempted to breach the classroom. This is in a Seattle public school. This is in Nathan Hale High School. Though school security eventually escorted her to the office. Oh, let's not forget, there's no police on campus anymore. Remember that? No police allowed on campus. The next day, Vice Principal Stuart Monroe reportedly told the family the school did not have the resources to continue providing an escort for her, so she didn't return to Nathan Hale for the rest of the year. Sorry you're being victimized. We can't protect you at school anymore. Sorry, sucks for you. Imagine if they said that to an LGBTQ kid, or a black kid, or Hispanic kid. The lawsuit alleges that due to the trauma, the girl developed severe anxiety, nightmares, and intense fear of returning to school. Oh, you think? Despite an agreement to provide pass-fail grades due to her forced absence, Nathan Hale allegedly reneged on this, negatively impacting her GPA. The district refused to grant her a safety transfer and instead told her to apply through the general transfer process. We've discussed the transfer process and what a nightmare it is. That means they didn't want to deal with it. During a meeting, Principal Jackson reportedly refused to appear in person and left the Zoom early without answering questions about how the school was addressing anti-Semitism. Plaintiffs are suing for violations of the Washington law against discrimination, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligence, negligent supervision, and loss of consortium. They are seeking damages for emotional trauma, emotional harm, and attorney's fees. And by the way, what they should do also is sue in federal court and let the Trump administration come down on Seattle public schools like a ton of bricks. When we're off air today, I'm going to send this to Seattle public schools. To the Trump administration, because this is insane, and I want them coming for Seattle public schools. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, speaking of big gangs, looks like one California Democrat wants the gangs in California to fight ICE agents? Yeah, this is insane. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder that coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the King County Fair. Yet another reason to always listen to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, left on your dial, always right on the issues. Why is Mike playing that song right now? Because of the insanity of how Democrats are reacting to ICE. This is the craziest one I've seen yet. California, one of their vice mayors, is calling for gangs to defend their hood from ICE. Those are her words, not mine. The vice mayor of Los Angeles County is reportedly under federal investigation after posting a video to social media in which she calls on gang members to defend their turf from ICE. Cynthia Gonzalez shared the video to social media late last week in which she said, "Not for nothing, I want to know where all the cholos are in Los Angeles. Where's the leadership at? Because you guys are all about territory. You guys tag everything up, claiming hood, and now your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is, and there ain't a peep out of you." Are you encouraging them to go and rough up ICE agents? Are you encouraging gang warfare? She says, it's everyone else who's not about the gang life that's out there protesting and speaking out. We're out there fighting our turf, protecting our people. Where you at? She says. Oh, you're so tough. So wait a second. You are literally calling for there to be gang warfare between ICE and the gangs? Well, maybe they're a little bit smarter than you. Number one, if you're an illegal immigrant gang member, the Trump administration is going to deport you. So probably fighting with ICE agents is a pretty dumb thing to do. Just a hunch. Just throwing that one out there. Now, as soon as she said this, immediately everybody ratioed this thing hard, and the video was deleted. Federal sources told Fox News she was later visited by FBI agents at her home. That is now under federal investigation. The sources said she went back on social media to say that the FBI had come to her home and she needed a lawyer. Oh, boo-hoo. The Department of Homeland Security called Gonzalez's comments despicable, adding, she calls for criminal gangs, including the vicious 18th Street Gang, to commit violence against our brave law enforcement. This kind of garbage has led to more than 500% increase in assaults against our ICE law enforcement officers. Secretary Noam has been clear. If you assault a federal officer, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The city issued a statement on the comments, writing they are aware of recent comments made by the vice mayor on social media. The comments made by the vice mayor reflect her personal views and do not represent the views or official position of the city. Now, this gang she mentioned, the 18th Street Gang, reportedly has upwards of 50,000 members and distributes cocaine and marijuana as a main source of income. Members are known to conduct crimes such as assault, carjacking, robbery, and other offenses. Members of the southern L.A.-based Florencia 13 gang have recently been accused of murder, fentanyl, trafficking, and extortion. And she's going to them for help? This is who you are reaching out to. This is who you want on your side to go against ICE? Really? This is your plan?
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Are you kidding me with this? You people are insane. You have lost your minds. You deserve to be under investigation. Meanwhile, Pam Bondi was testifying on Capitol Hill, and she destroyed Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley when he attempted to be concerned about foreign influence in our government. What Pam Bondi did is gold. Give a listen.
This sequence of events in which a foreign government asked for a big favor, and we had previously banned these chips to UAE because of the national security concerns. Then they buy $2 billion of the president's coins, and then the president goes to the Middle East and says, we will provide those chips. Does that sequence of events concern you about foreign influence on the United States of America?
The foreign influence on America that I would be concerned about if I were you was the Mexican national that resided in Oregon, who we just arrested, who had 384 pounds of methamphetamine. The foreign individual who I would be concerned about if I were a senator from Oregon is the Honduran drug trafficker who was residing in Portland for distributing fentanyl. The foreign national I would be concerned about if I was a Portland senator, an Oregon senator, is a Mexican national leader of a drug trafficking ring. Another one, fentanyl, firearms, fatal overdoses, all in your state.
You have made your point.
57,700 fentanyl pills and stolen firearms in Oregon. That's what we should work together on, not gotcha questions during a budget
Let me
hearing on
recognize
public
Senator
safety.
Merkley.
And of course, they shut her down because she makes a pretty good point there. The good point is that, guys, you're out of your minds. You've lost the plot. You are so desperate to say Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, that you're ignoring the stuff happening in your own district and saying it's good. Saying illegal immigrant criminals who are gang members, who are fentanyl dealers, who are drug dealers, who are murderers, who are rapists, that you want to keep them in state. This is why you're losing the pulse of the American people, because you have such severe Trump derangement syndrome, you can't see past it at all into what's right or what's wrong. Speaking of what's right and what's wrong, when we come back, my friends, we now know who is wielding Joe Biden's auto pen. Yep, they admitted it. We have the testimony. We've got the audio. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, you have just over 10 minutes to give in that word that I gave you at 4 o'clock, to text it in to 206-421-5757 for your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. Also, don't forget, coming up at 5:45, your next chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the King County Fair. That's right, my friends. Now, let's talk about the auto pen for a second. We've all been wondering who's been in charge of this thing. And it looks like now we have an answer on who it was. It was one of Joe Biden's aides. So his former top aide, Neera Tanden, testified behind closed doors in Congress on Tuesday for 4 hours, during which she said she was authorized to use the auto pen on behalf of Joe Biden. So here's the thing, guys. I got a question for you. Do you think she was the one running the government, or you think it was just everybody telling her what to do and what to sign? That's what I think it was. I don't think this was all Neera Tanden's agenda. I think it was just somebody would come and say, hey, use the auto pen for that. Hey, use the auto pen for that. Here's what she said to a group of assembled press yesterday after the testimony on Capitol Hill.
Comments. Thank you. I just spoke with the House Oversight Committee, Majority and Minority Council. I answered every question, was just to discuss my public service, and it was a thorough process, and I'm glad I answered every question.
Was there an effort to disguise President Biden's condition?
Absolutely not.
Goodbye. She's out of there. That's it. Done. Wow, you answered all the questions? What a low bar we have for that administration.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why?
What a low bar we have. What an absolute low bar. Wow, she answered all the questions. Great. Who told you to use the auto pen? How many times did you use it? What documents did you use it on? Why are all the pardons signed with the auto pen except for Hunter Biden's? Was Joe Biden 100% with us or not? Because look at the priorities of what they were doing in that administration. The White House Office of Management and Budget Director, Russ Vought, was testifying on Capitol Hill, outlining some of the stuff that we were spending money on thanks to the auto pen.
Other examples of the type of spending proposed for rescissions are almost comically wasteful. For example, complex crisis funding money went to voter ID in Haiti. Development assistance funding has been used for net zero cities in Mexico, electric buses in Rwanda, and critic powder in Madagascar. Global health money went to the International Planned Parenthood Foundation and UNFPA. IECA funding went to social media mentorship in Serbia and Belarus. The Clean Technology Fund was used for wind farms in Ukraine. The list goes on. The American people didn't fund this. They didn't intend to, at least. They didn't vote to continue the Washington status quo. The entire federal government must be responsible with each taxpayer dollar that comes to Washington. The American people voted for change. President Trump stands ready to put our fiscal house back in order and put the American taxpayer first.
Yeah, exactly. The crazy stuff they were spending money on. So Jeff and Kent texted in, and he said somebody was telling her what to do, but more importantly, who? Exactly right. Exactly right. Who was the one behind the auto pen? Who was the one making the decisions? I don't think it was Neera Tanden. I don't think it was her. So who is actually making these decisions? That's the question I have. By the way, it seems like a lot of you think it'd be funny if Ari Goldie Hoffman ran for mayor. That I find very entertaining. Yeah, but you all know how that's going to end, right? This one here, Steve from Shoreline. At an interview yesterday, Chief Barr said he was willing to go to jail for the First Amendment. What did he mean by that? Okay, so this was a story we did last week where he was talking about how he was willing to go to jail to protect, what was it? It was, I want to make sure I got this right. I'm doing it off the top of my head. Don't remember exactly. Oh, right. Yeah, I remember what it was. For speaking out against the Trump administration and crackdowns on ICE because he refused to work with ICE. That's what it was. It wasn't the First Amendment. It was he's willing to go to jail, and what they were doing was yesterday they gave him an interview to try and explain his remarks. And after the blowback he got from that, where everybody in our world said, dude, Trump doesn't even know who you are. That's what they're rehashing a story from last week from Kelly in Seattle. Kelly is wondering if these parents of the girl who was being abused at Seattle public schools can sue the kids and their parents who were doing it for damages. How about bankrupting all these little brats' families? It would serve the parents right for raising animals. Ari, this one from Becky and Enumclaw. I hope you send to the feds all the information about that young gal in Seattle. I would love to see the Trump administration become aware of all the crazy stuff going on in our state. Yeah, and we really need your voice on air as much as I would love to have you in office. I think you have farther reach on the radio. Very important. I would agree, by the way. I would agree. Plus, I like it here, by the way. This one here. This one from El Darthbo says, Ari, I feel the pain of that 14-year-old Jewish girl and her family are suffering at the hands of Seattle School District. The school administrator, board, principal, and anyone else who supports this abuse should be made to pay out of their own pockets should the family win the lawsuit. We, the law-abiding taxpayers, should not be saddled with this retribution, not a penny of it. Watch the perps scream then. Yeah, you know what the problem is? That's not going to happen. I mean, I wish it would, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen. I wish it would. I really do wish it would. So this one here, dude in B.C. thinks that Barack Obama was the one running the administration. Yeah, a lot of people feel the exact same way.
Obama!
They think he was behind the man. We've played that interview where he said he wants to be the guy behind the throne in somebody else's term. Yeah, that's exactly what was going on. When we come back, my friends, it's the final hour free-for-all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories. Plus, we're also going to be discussing how somebody on an airplane got a hold of Matt Gaetz' texts, and they ain't good about Trump. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free-for-all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card and tickets to the King County Fair. But before we get to any of that, my friends, we go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Ernie in Puyallup. Ernie, what's up, man?
Hey, Ari. I got a question. Now that, we have someone admitted they use the auto pen and, and who knows who else has probably used the auto pen, and we don't know if Biden even knew what was going on with it, does it that we're signed with the auto pens now pretty much invalid? I mean, the pardons?
Yeah, you can definitely make that legal case for it. Now, I have a question, though, because now we got a real problem. How long has the auto pen been used for? What has it been used for? You know what I think the problem here is that what if it was used during the Trump administration for non-essential paperwork, like the last time, right? What if it was used during that? Now, we know Donald Trump. He loves signing things. He likes his big markers. He likes holding them up to the camera and showing everybody. But what about the little stuff, the day-to-day stuff that the executive has to sign? Do they say just auto pen it, just stamp it, just rubber stamp it, just send it out? Because does that invalidate a whole bunch of other things? What about other presidents? How deep do you go with this? I think where you hit a brick wall is not just the Democrats, but when the Republicans have to reveal what they may have used the auto pen for. Because what the Democrats' defense of this should be is, you guys used it too. Here's what you used it on. And I don't think anybody wants them to do that either. I think that's why this thing was not top news the past couple of days.
Right. And I mean, I agree with that, but on the flip side, as we talked, I mean, if Trump or anyone else used it and they said, yeah, go ahead and do it, okay. But again, with Biden out in la la land, he didn't even know. He doesn't know. I mean, they were, he had no clue. That's the only thing that I'm saying.
Right.
You got to someone out there willy-nilly just signing it, and Biden not having a clue, where you have a Trump or someone else that said, yeah, go ahead and, use it. At least they knew what that was being signed.
Exactly. By the way, I completely agree with you. But remember when I said that Doge was going to run into problems once Republican districts started losing money and some people in those districts didn't have the funds anymore? Remember when I said that? This is the same kind of thing. The rubber is going to meet the road when you go, well, did Trump use it? Did Bush use it? Did any Republican ever use this thing? How far back do you want to go on the auto pen? Now, mind you, I think we should investigate this because Joe Biden was not present. I finished Jake Tapper's book a couple weeks ago, and the thing was everything we knew was happening. The guy was not present. The guy was not with us. So, yeah, this is definitely something that we'll keep an eye on. Ernie, good call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Meanwhile, you know how I've been calling out Matt Gaetz and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson for all the insanity they've been spewing during the conflict with Iran? After the U.S. bombed them, before the U.S. bombed them, when Israel was bombing them. Well, are they having any impact? CNN's got some new polling for us on the airstrikes.
Yeah, I think there's this idea, okay, maybe the MAGA base wouldn't necessarily like this. Look, this is Donald Trump's Republican Party. That's what I think is so important to note. GOP on the U.S. airstrikes in Iran, 76% in the average of the two polls approve, compared to just 18% who disapprove. Now, I will note that is a bit higher than Donald Trump's disapproval rating within the Republican Party. But overall, Republicans are with Donald Trump on this. Tucker Carlson be darned. The bottom line is he does not speak for the majority of the Republican base. The majority of the Republican base is with Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, first of all, okay, I got to eat some crow on this one. I'm going to do it on air, and Mike gets to make fun of me on this one, okay? Mike's excited for this. Because what happened, I said, when Tucker Carlson was the top-rated host on Fox, I said that when he went over to Twitter, he was going to be a huge deal, and it might revolutionize Twitter, and all these people were going to be over there and not getting their news from Fox anymore. I was dead wrong. I was 100% wrong. Because, hey, look, a lot of people in our world are, 55 plus? They're not using the Twitter. They're not doing that. And some younger people are watching it, but they're not watching this kind of stuff. So guess what happened? Tucker's got the followers he's got. He's got the audience he's got, but he's making himself more and more irrelevant because every time he comes out with these bad takes, every single time, people are going, I don't want to listen to that dude anymore. Now, I was right on this, Mike, which was I never really liked Tucker Carlson's takes to begin with. I never really liked his show. I couldn't understand why the guy from CNN was a top-rated host on Fox. But the one I really don't get is Matt Gaetz. So you've got Matt Gaetz, disgraced former member of Congress. Oh, sorry, allegedly disgraced former member of Congress, was about to be Attorney General. Thank God he's not. This guy has had the worst takes on the internet during the entire conflict with Iran. The worst takes. He is wrong about everything. He is ignorant about everything. I wonder what kind of conspiracy theory websites this dude is checking. He is always wrong. Maybe that's why he's where he is right now. But this is fun. The New York Post had this story. So before you think it's a hit piece from the left-wing media, let me go to my little red book of the right-wing media conspiracy, and in it is the New York Post. They're on our team. We love the New York Post, my favorite newspaper in the country. Former Representative Matt Gaetz was caught texting his mom for advice on how to deal with President Trump in a wide-ranging conversation in which the TV host also flexed his real estate assets and having $500,000 in the bank. What? In the 72-second video. Yeah, exactly. Oh, wow. You're doing this with your mom, dude? Okay. I don't even do that with friends. That's weird. In the 72-second video, surreptitiously filmed by a passenger on a recent flight and posted on TikTok, Gaetz' conversation is in full view thanks to a zoomed-in screen that made the message text larger. Is dude having seeing problems? Does dude need glasses? That's some pretty big text right there.
I'm looking at the picture of the text of the phone in the article now. Dude's 43 years old.
Yeah.
Now, I struggle with some bad eyesight stuff. My eyesight is almost as bad as my hearing. But no, I don't understand how a normal human person who is texting with another normal human person, one, communicates using the phrasing that you're about to read to us, but also in a font that's that big. Like, I don't know if my phone could actually make the text that big, even if it wanted to.
Yes.
You know, it only gets so big.
Yes.
I think I'm going to throw on my tinfoil hat here. I think this is performative. I think he's trying to get caught to get us to talk about it.
Oh, you think that's what it is?
I do.
Okay, guys, if you agree with Mike, you text or call us once you hear what we're talking about at 206-421-5757. I have a different theory, Mike. You know what I think it is? So, gentlemen of our age don't want to admit we're getting a little bit older. My kippas on my head are getting a little bit bigger, covering up a little bit bigger bald spots. But I don't think the dude wants to admit he needs reading glasses also. That's what I think it might be, but let's go.
Given his hang up on his hair, I wouldn't disbelieve that.
Yeah, exactly. That's well documented, as you might say. So the user captioned the exchange, point of view, you're sitting behind Matt Gaetz, and he's texting his mommy. Gaetz' mom, Vicky Gaetz, warned the ex-Florida congressman, don't be criticizing the president or his actions. He's trying to keep us safe. That's his job. MAGA will turn on you. You will lose viewership. 100% what's happening right now. What is literally happening right now. Your days in Congress are over. Let's not mess up the media gig. So his mom is saying, dude, you messed up the congressional stuff. That's your bad. This is your last chance. Don't do it. She said to the host of the Matt Gaetz Show on One America News Network, which she started in January. She said, the president has been a very good friend to you. He hates betrayal. Be smart, not stubborn. What does Gaetz say? I'm trying to guide him, not criticize him. Okay, can we be real about this for a second? If you're so close with Trump and you're trying to guide him, call him on the phone. Don't try to turn public opinion against him. Look, I've sent emails to the Trump administration. Sometimes I think my advice is taken. Sometimes I think my advice is ignored. I do that from time to time, and I'll tell you something. They don't have to listen to me. They don't. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But we call him out when we think he does something wrong. We call it out, and we have facts to back it up. Matt Gaetz has no facts, and Matt Gaetz is opposite everybody who approves of what the president is doing. Move public opinion. And when we call out the president, Mike, are we trying to turn MAGA against him? Are we trying to become the captains of MAGA? No. That's not what we do around here. We just think we don't like a certain decision. That's it. And then we move on to the next segment in the Woke Report or whatever it is. So he says, I've never been freer to share my views. I'll continue to do so. Yeah, you were really stifled in Congress. Yeah, we definitely saw you. You definitely had a gag on you in Congress, right? I think about the people who cheered for the Iraq war because they liked Bush. These people have blood on their hands. Wow. No understanding whatsoever of what happened. No understanding at all. Plus, got a different question for you. Israel's bombing all your nuclear facilities. Don't you think you tell them people not to go to work the next day? But how much blood would have been on everybody's hands if Iran had gotten a nuclear weapon and had used it on Israel, or used it on Europe, or used it on anybody in the Middle East, or used it on America? What a fool. She advised her son against trying to guide the notoriously independent mind commander-in-chief, to which Gaetz replied, guiding DJT always includes a private and public component. I know how to do it. Really? It doesn't look like he listened to you, dude. Not at all. The conversation veered into his finances, with his mother asking, how many times you want to hit the wall? Wow. He replied with a flex of his family and assets. He says, I'm a happily married man with a son on the way, 2 penthouse condos, and a 1-to-1 real estate asset to debt ratio, and $500K in my bank account cash. You're dunking on your mom? With all that? Really? Dude, no. By the way, now I'm kind of on Team Mike.
I don't buy it.
No.
Who talks to their mom that way?
Yes.
Also, whose mom talks back to them that way? I have had some frustratingly inarticulate text conversations with my mom where, like, punctuation is your friend. Comma saves lives.
Yes.
Let's eat grandma.
Yes.
I'm just saying, it's like this is too elaborate and articulate of a conversation that somebody just saw over his shoulder. Come on.
Okay. I'm giving you half and half, Mike. I'm going to half agree with you. I'm going to say it started off a different way, but dude clocked that he was being filmed. And now he's putting on a show for an audience. Now, that's what I think happened. I think originally he wasn't planning on getting caught, but he's social media savvy, and he figures if I'm going to get caught, let me put on a show. And that's what I think happened here. So I think you're half right, Mike. On the topic of Iran, Gaetz claimed the Islamic Republic has been 3 months away from a nuke since 1992. Oh, you watched the Daily Show clip that they put out. The Daily Show clip, which shows 30 years of Israel saying, hey, they're close to that. But Gaetz is so dumb, he doesn't know how many times Iran has been stopped from developing that nuclear weapon. So you get your news from the Daily Show? You get your news from Twitter? Look, I like to joke that we get a lot of our stuff from social media. At the same time, there's a lot of reading involved in this job. There's a lot of things you got to research. Matt Gaetz' show is what happens when you don't do your homework and you sound like a dum-dum. And you don't have a live audience. Mike knows this. When I get something wrong, when I get something wrong, the text line and the phone line go bonkers crazy. So what do you think, guys? Do you think this was performative? Do you think he was putting on a show? Do you think this whole thing was staged? After the exchange went viral, Gaetz responded on X. Apparently, someone sitting behind me on a flight recorded me without my knowledge. They found me texting my mother about the news of the day, family finances, and working on my laptop. Please let this be a reminder to everyone to call your mother and maybe get a screen protector. Yeah, I don't think that's what it is. However, he did respond about the giant text, by the way, Mike. He says he's 43 and my eyesight has gotten very poor in recent years. Okay, I'm more on Team Mike now than I was before. What do you guys think? Do you think this was all performative? Do you think he was doing it once he realized he was being filmed? You think he actually believes it? You think it's a combination of all of the above? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. By the way, you notice some people in our space, not MySpace, in our space, meaning conservative world, haven't said a word about Zoran Mamdani, the lunatic socialist Hamas supporter who just won the Democratic nomination to be mayor of New York? Haven't heard anything out of Candace Owens. Oh, because he hates Jews and you agree with him. Haven't heard anything out of Tucker Carlson. Haven't heard anything out of the Hodge twins and a whole bunch of other people like that. All the ones who had the bad takes on what was going on in the Middle East. You guys had plenty of time to tweet about Israel, but haven't mentioned the communist who might become mayor of America's biggest city. Are you guys actually conservatives, or what's the deal here? You just going for clicks. Candace Owens, she's dumb. I understand that. Tucker Carlson, you know what I think it is? I think it's about the clicks. I think he realizes he can get rage clicks, and he's going to keep saying these crazy things because you can get a lot of rage clicks from the crazies on the right as well as the crazies on the left, depending on what you say. It's like Cenk Uygur, the guy from the Young Turks. That guy is sharing people like that, which means now you're in the lefty space, and you're getting those clicks too. You know how easy it would be for me to say dumb things and get the clicks for it? But, you know, Mike and Kevin had a conversation with me a while ago. This was year one. Year one. I said something. I don't even remember what it was that I said. And they said, do you want to be a shock jock? Or do you, because if you do, that's fine. I mean, that's fine. That's your decision. Or do you want to like give people the news and give people the opinions and be respected and not be seen as like the crazy person? And you guys were 100% right. I don't even remember what it was. It was one of those, you can always tell when I go on a little tangent that maybe I said something I shouldn't have because it just was on the top of mind, right? It just came right out. So I don't even remember what it was that I said, but I'm much happier in the place that I am right now. There are other people who do anything for the clicks. We don't do that here on the show. My social media following is respectable, right? But there's a lot of people I block because I just don't want to put up with their nonsense anymore. Just had it with the nonsense. I could get the rage clicks all I want. I've just had it. I'm like, you're not going to come on my page and spout that anti-Semitic garbage or whatever else it is. I like to think we have a little bit of integrity around here. I like to think we put on a pretty good show. Matt Gaetz, holy cow, the show he puts on. The show he puts on is absolute garbage. And you know something else? I reached out to his show because I'm on OANN from time to time. And I reached out to the producers and I said, guys, I'd be more than happy. And they go, that's a great idea. We'll get back to you. Let's talk with Matt. Mike, that was a week ago? A week ago now. Hasn't had me on. He just has this constant parade of dummy heads that go on his show to agree with his stupid opinions that have no basis in fact. And that makes you look dumb. That makes you look stupid for going on his dumb show. And I wonder if these people even recognize how stupid they look. In fact, I'm noticing, you remember who he had, who his first guest was? Do you remember who his first guest was? George Santos. George Santos. And they were talking about makeup tips. I mean, this is Matt Gaetz. These are the people who do things for the rage clicks. We do things for you. We do things for our audience. We do things for ourselves. I'm proud of everything we say. And when I make a mistake, we fix it. And we try to fix it as quickly as possible. By the way, my friends, this is something. If you ever have feedback on this kind of stuff, text us, call us, give us a call or a text, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues. The crime is continuing in Seattle, and we're getting another grocery store? No, not really. I know they're trying to spin it that way, but that's not what's happening. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on The Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including $50 Daniels Brothers gift card and tickets to the King County Fair. Yet another reason to always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI left on your dial. Always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. I saw this story earlier, and I said to everybody out in the bullpen, Mike and Zach were sitting there at the time, I think it was, I go, a PCC grocery store is opening in downtown. Didn't we do this story? They're not opening two, right? And Zach goes, no, it's the same story, just now they're giving you more details on the store. And I'm thinking to myself, why would the Seattle Times want to mention this twice? When we first heard the news, I remember what it was. PCC closed up the really big store they had here. And then everybody's like, well, see, another store is leaving Seattle because there's tons of stores leaving Seattle. And then what did we get instead? We got you're getting a much smaller store. This is the smaller one you're going to be getting. And we made fun of it at the time because there's not as many people working downtown. Now you're doing the smaller store. But I realized what's happening. Seattle Times is making it seem like things aren't so bad. That's what it is. If you look closely at this article, they're just giving you the open date. They wrote a whole article just to give you the date. You could tell when the Seattle Times phoned it in because the article isn't 20 paragraphs long. This one's like 10. That's them phoning it in. What are they trying to distract you from? This was on the police scanner just a little while ago. At 9201 8th Avenue Southwest, the Seattle Fire Department is responding to a downed subject in the woods near the West Duwamish Trail. Caller says the person doesn't appear to be alive, and there's a very foul odor coming from them. This has been confirmed as a DOA, according to the Seattle Fire Department. So we're letting homeless people die and left to rot on hiking trails. Literally left to rot. That there's a foul odor coming from the person. How many homeless dead bodies have been found so far this year? I bet you our friend Andrea Suarez knows. I bet you if I get in touch with Andrea, I bet you if I DM her right now, she will give me an exact count. I bet you if I ask Jonathan Cho, he'll probably know exactly how many. They'll probably know off the top of their heads. I bet you if we asked Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell, he'd have no idea. Have no idea. Jonathan Cho had an interesting video yesterday, actually. So Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever are coming to play the Seattle Storm on Tuesday, I believe it is. I think they're coming this week. Or next week, rather. So they're coming to town. What are they going to see when they get here? The city's been getting worse and worse and worse. Much worse. It's not getting better. As we discussed earlier in the show, Bruce Harrell doesn't want to trigger the lefties. And because he doesn't want to trigger the lefties, he's probably cut back on the amount of sweeps that they're doing. I've noticed a lot more homeless around the downtown corridor, and usually this time of year, that's when they protect it. Why? I'm looking out at the reason right now. There is a giant cruise ship outside my window. Every day, there's like 2 or 3 of those suckers that leave, heading for Alaska or wherever else they're going, right? I see one out there today. There's one right now. But every single day, you got more people leaving on the cruises. Oh, Fridays is nuts around here. That's like Grand Central Station of cruise season. That's when you see one come out, then another come out, then another come out. And yet they're not cleaning up downtown. It's when you have the concerts. It's when you have sporting events. It's when you have all this stuff going on. Did we just have FIFA yesterday? FIFA, FOFUM? Did we just have FIFA yesterday? Yeah, we did. And they're not cleaning up the city. Not cleaning it up at all. Why do you think that is? Because they're worried about antagonizing the left. Meanwhile, stories like this continue to happen. This one's from last week. But according to Como News, a sunny Sunday afternoon in Seattle, all set with a pop-up art market at the bottom of Queen Anne Counterbalance, came to an abrupt and chaotic end when a man who seemed to be in the psychotic episode attacked a local small business owner. Janafa Singer told Como News the man suddenly had her fighting for her life. She said the man told her he was going to gouge her eyes out, and then he certainly tried. She owns the Uncommon Cottage at the corner of West Roy Street and Queen Anne Avenue North. She said the man first started going after people in cars driving by the outdoor market they had set up. A friend of hers decided to hit record on his smartphone camera. His video captured the man in the middle of the street before turning his attention to Singer and her vendors set up on the sidewalk. He lunged at her and then called her things I can't say on the radio and then threatened to gouge out her eyes. She said she turned to walk into her store, but then he grabbed her from behind and shoved his fingers in her eyes. By this time, her friends and vendors were all aware of what was happening and working to stop the man from harming anyone. In a matter of minutes, Seattle police reported getting numerous 911 calls about a disturbance. One caller said the man did not have a weapon but tried to pull open their car door. Others detailed how the man was threatening people and bit one woman. Callers to 911 also reported Good Samaritans attempting to restrain the man or at least stop him from harming anybody else. Another caller reported seeing a woman dripping blood from her face screaming. Singer told Como News that was her. She suffered a very large bruise on her left arm, was bleeding from her eyes, and suffered a concussion. Singer said it took 7 police officers tasering and finally a sedative injection to restrain him and strap him to a stretcher. Seattle police officers' report of the incident stated that the suspect did not comply with their commands and there was a struggle. The officer called for units to step it up, a brevity code for fastback, which is a request for all available units in the precinct to urgently respond to the situation. That step it up request quickly escalated to help the officer event, the report explained, which means all available units in the city of Seattle. That's how drugged up this guy was. That's whatever this guy was on. He was resisting tasering. He was resisting tons of officers. The report said it took more than 5 officers to restrain him, and he actively resisted the entire time. By the time they had him in custody, he had kicked an officer in the face, grabbed her in the crotch area, and scratched another one. He was booked in the King County Jail for various assault and malicious mischief charges. The violence on Sunday afternoon destroyed about $5,000 in merchandise that either belonged to Uncommon Cottage Store or vendors set up for their Father's Day art for the pop-up. Singer's store is currently closed as she deals with dizzy spells from her concussion and trauma of the attack, amplified by the outcome of a day she had really set herself and other vendors up for success. There's a GoFundMe account for Singer. Try and help her with her medical expenses and lost revenue from the store. This is what Bruce Harrell has no problem with. Why? Because he wants to get reelected. And he wants the left to reelect him. What, you think when he's in office, all of a sudden he's going to pivot back to the right? He was an empty suit before all this. That's who Bruce Harrell is. That's the kind of guy he is. Anything to stay in power and not do a really good job at all. Not at all. Unbelievable. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. Actor, comedian, Jeremy Piven will be joining us next, talk about his latest projects, and he's coming to Seattle. Plus, I ask him about one of our favorite movies we love to play here on the show, PCU. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Comedian, star of stage and screen, Jeremy Piven will be back in our neck of the woods. He's going to be at the Roseland Theater in Portland, Oregon on July 11th, and in our area, the Neptune Theater over at Seattle on July 12th. He's got a whole tour for his national stand-up, and the full list of dates and locations you can find at jeremypiven.com, and he joins us now on the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Thanks so much for being back with us again today, sir.
Thank you for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And something that always entertained me about Entourage, which is one of her very iconic roles, is your name is Ari, my name is Ari, my son's name is Jonah, your son in that show's name was Jonah, and people say I'm slightly obnoxious all the time. Do you walk down the street and people just call out, "Hey, Ari," or say other things to you?
No, but in the same way that you identify with that character and probably think it's me, they think it's me as well. And it's my honor. It's my absolute honor to be mistaken for a character that I played authentically for a decade. So, and by the way, I'm going to unpack all this on stage. You know, I got guys stopping me on the street going, you know, I'm a douchebag because of you. And they start screaming at me. And listen, it's adorable. And I love it. And I've made my mark. And I used to hate it, but I've grown to love it.
That's funny because when I was doing theater as a kid in high school and college, and I never went farther than that, instead I got a radio show, I always enjoyed playing the bad guy, something very different than what I am. Was it kind of like an outlet for you?
I jumped up on stage as a child and I just love being creative and we're very lucky to, as you know, you're very grateful for your job and for us to do what we love to do. And I play these characters and for some reason people are and I must have done something right because they really are fascinated with how much am I like Ari? That's what they want to know. And I've even had guys in my life that begged me to be a little that I'm a little like Ari, and I'm like, no, brother, you are. That's who you are. It's adorable. I love it. You're an actual douchebag. I'm just a stage actor from Chicago. You know what I'm saying, brother? And I'm really boring. You drive a Bentley. You yell in public. You're incredible. I'm boring as excuse my language.
That's still funny. So you have so many iconic roles, but there's one that I think was really ahead of its time, and we play clips from it all the time on my show, which is PCU. So when you see what's going on in the world right now, especially on college campuses, do you think it was ahead of its time? You think we should do a remake? Would you want to be the dean this time around? What do you think about that?
You know what's so interesting, man, is for whatever reason, every day on X or Instagram, people, you know, will reference PCU and they'll say they can't find it. And for some reason, it's hidden. Here's this movie that's a cult classic, and it does uncover themes that have come to fruition. You know, people right now are building signs somewhere, you know, up in I'm on the street right now in one of these lofts. Someone is being paid to make a No Kings placard right now. You know, and by the way, you know, some of these people are paid, some are not. You know, being a short king, I'm afraid they're going to come for me next.
It's funny because...
Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the meal. The 9:30 show is completely different from the 70.
Okay.
I think of that scene at the end when they start protesting the dean and the cause heads whip out their own placards and their own pens and they go, "We brought our own chant sheets." That seems to be whatever the cause du jour is. That's what they do.
Well, listen, I think that it's you know, we're incredibly divided right now. And I think if we could figure out a way to hear each other and be open to someone else's point of view, then we could do no wrong. If we are identified by our position, our take, and we're unable to have our mind changed, you know, there's a problem. By the way, I apologize for this interview because I'm doing comedy at the Neptune and in Portland. So we should kind of transition, if you will. You know what I mean? Because everyone's transitioning. Let's transition, you and I together in a bathroom. Wait a minute. Sorry. No.
I was going to say I had some issues at the bathroom at the Neptune the last time I was there. The lines were very entertaining. But switching completely over to that. So one of your other iconic roles is the one in Grosse Point Blank. I love your
Yeah.
character. I love his reaction to everything, the way that he's just experiencing this assassin in his high school. What would you say is one of your favorite roles that you look back on and you go, that's the one I'm most proud of?
It hasn't come out yet. It's called The Performance. I've been working on it for 15 years, and it's an Arthur Miller short story my mom gave me, and it's going to come to fruition this year. And I'm on the streets of New York. It's 101 degrees. I'm sweating like a Hebrew slave. And that film actually takes place here in New York. And I play a Jewish tap dancer and who ends up dancing for Hitler. And I think it couldn't be more relevant to what's going on right now in terms of just having people understand history, not rewriting it, but understanding it and having that inform, what's going on today and uncovering the truth and the fact that there's a lot of layers out there. But again, you and I start talking and then we get very serious. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy because what I'm lucky enough to do right now is travel the country. And by the way, I talked to my buddy Adam Ray, who I'm sure you know, who's a Seattle guy.
Sure.
He's on the road doing Dr. Phil right now, and I performed with him the other night. And he's the Seattle guy, and he was just raving about Neptune Theater, and I've never played there, so it's an honor to be able to go there and like let my hands go, and Portland, and make people laugh. It's escapism, and we need it right now.
In the last few minutes we have with star of stage and screen, Jeremy Piven. So when you walk out on that stage and you're looking at a crowd, I know that when I do speaking engagements or anything else like that, I actually prefer it to being behind the microphone because there's a certain energy that comes off of that. Is most of your stuff, you go in there with a plan, or is most of your stuff completely improv when you walk out?
Well, basically everyone has a plan till you get punched in the face. You know what I'm saying? I made many millions, but I cry all the time.
Yeah, everyone's got a plan until someone yells, "Let's hug it out." You know what I mean? And then you go, "Oh, okay, let's go." And that's a great thing about a live audience. And Seattle is, one of the great towns in this world. And, the birth of grunge and this it's so much culture there. And they're used to seeing live shows. And they'll probably feel very comfortable with me and want to talk to me. And then suddenly the show takes a life of its own. And so it's like, it's the mixed martial arts of the arts in a way. You got to be ready. You got to do stand up, and then you got to hit the ground game. If you got some crowd work, you got to roll, tuck and roll. Yeah, man, I just came from LA. You know that LA has been in a lot of trouble. And you know that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't. Maybe you know what, you
Get a
probably
little
live
bit
in a
on
cave in Kabul.
Yeah.
You live in a cave?
No.
You know what? That's actually better.
Yeah.
It's actually better. It's better that you don't know anything. Ignorance at this moment is blissful.
Yes, I kind of hear that from a lot of people. I hear that quite often. They're like, they prefer not to know what's going on because the stuff that's going on is so crazy. If you want to get tickets, find out all the details about Jeremy Piven's tour, you can do so at jeremypiven.com. He's going to be at the Roseland Theater in Portland, Oregon on July 11th, the Neptune Theater in Seattle, Washington on July 12th. Jeremy Piven, thank you so much for being with us today, sir.
How about if they mention you, we give them a free meet and greet at the Roseland Theater in Portland?
I like that. I would love to work that out. That'd be wonderful.
You know what? Let's go one step further. Even though I'm really cheap because I'm Jewish, let's give away some tickets. It's gonna, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna pain me.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And I'm happy to be there at the show too. Meet you in person this time.
By the way, you know how you know someone's Jewish?
How's that?
They tell you.
I think my audience would agree with that.
Yes, we're going to unpack all that. I'll see you guys soon.
It's like that in CrossFit. Jeremy Piven, thank you so much for being with us today. Really do appreciate it. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway, got this crazy headline for you. This one from the Daily Mail. Real life Sharknado. Man is left baffled after a hammerhead shark falls from the sky onto a golf course. I guess it's better than a body falling out of the sky from an airplane and landing on your car, right? The little things in life. Could have been worse. As everyday perils go, there are plenty of ways to get hurt. From tripping up on a pavement to giving yourself a paper cut, there are countless accidents waiting to happen. A shark falling from the sky likely isn't at the top of your list of things to look out for. But in scenes reminiscent of the film Sharknado, that's exactly what occurred at a golf course in South Carolina. Remarkable photographs show a hammerhead shark after it plummeted from the heavens and landed at the Splinter City Disc Golf Course in Myrtle Beach. The unusual event took place on May 18th near the 11th hole of the wooded course near the ocean. So, Jonathan Marlowe, who witnessed the event, told Garden and Gun magazine, "We couldn't believe it and kept asking ourselves, did that really just happen?" But rather than a tornado picking up the shark and dropping it from the sky as depicted in the film, there's a slightly more logical explanation for the unusual incident. Wait, I know. There was a plane of prisoner sharks, and this one got caught in the wheel, and they had to write a message on him so they could tell him to meet them at Carson City. And they threw him out of the... That's logical, right? Right? What, Jerry Bruckheimer's not logical? While it was possible for water spouts to suck up fish from the sea, this was an osprey was the culprit. That means a bird. The bird of prey, known for being an excellent aquatic hunter, regularly dives into the water from a significant height to catch fish with their sharp talons. This one, however, seemed to pick up a small hammerhead by mistake. It's likely the osprey carried the shark at least half a mile from the ocean before losing its grip. Marlowe said he saw two crows chasing the osprey into a tree where it dropped the hammerhead onto the ground below. He said it's not uncommon to see an osprey carrying something, but you take note because it's still really cool to see it. I thought it would be a random fish. Experts say this mobbing behavior from crows isn't unusual, especially in the springtime, when the smaller birds team up for safety to chase potential predators away from their nesting sites or food sources. Yeah, this happens outside my house all the time. There's an eagle's nest near my house, and I see the crows over there all the time fighting with the eagles. According to Myrtle Beach Disc Golf Facebook page, the likes of snakes, alligators, and raccoons are common sights on the local courses. The film Sharknado, which was released in 2013, depicts an unprecedented weather event off the coast of Mexico that rips out a ravenous river of sharks. These man-eating fish are scooped up in tornadoes and transported to Los Angeles, where they become a deadly airborne threat. I am proud to say I've never seen a single one of the Sharknado movies. That is not my jam. I know some people love those because what are they up to? 5, 6, 7 of those suckers? All I know it is not for me. I can respect those of you that enjoy that silliness because I have my own silliness that I enjoy. Like Fast and Furious 25 that we're going to get to one day, even though this one's the end of the road. Really? For real this time? Not the end of the road begins. We're just really ending the road this time. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we're giving away a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card. Daniels Broiler has been a Seattle favorite since 1980. Features USDA prime steak and other specialties, including chicken and fresh seafood, as well as a selection of high-end spirits, wine, and cocktails. Daniels Broiler is open now in Bellevue, downtown Seattle, Leschi, and South Lake Union with dine-in, takeout, and delivery. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, plus a bonus of the Little Red Book of Retirement. Learn how to design your retirement to support your quality of life. For 30-plus years from Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, a local company working to help you grow deep financial roots that future financial storms don't blow your life savings away. Visit MadronaFinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. Last but certainly not least, we're giving away 4 tickets to the King County Fair, July 17th through 20th. The fair to see since 1863, July 17th through 20th at the Enumclaw Expo Center with carnival rides, free entertainment, livestock, and shopping. Saddle up for heart-pounding action and edge of your seat excitement. Watch fearless cowboys take on the toughest bulls and broncs in town. Grab your boots and get your tickets now for the King County Fair. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 will win a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card, a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement, a bonus of the Little Red Book of Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, and 4 tickets to the King County Fair. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. Well, my friends, that's going to do it for us today, but fear not. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.